The brakes have been tampered with. Black girls screamed. The billionaire was stunned by the truth. The night I almost died didn't begin with a scream. It began with silence. The kind that hums beneath chandeliers and glass. The kind that tells you something's wrong before anyone speaks. The kind of silence money can't buy back. I remember standing by the window, the rain cutting across the glass like fine threads. My car was waiting outside, black, polished, patient. The driver was late. The child wasn't. She stood near the staircase, small, still, and soaked from the storm. A 10-year-old girl with eyes too old for her age. No one had invited her. No one had noticed her. But I did. Who let her in? I asked my housekeeper. The woman only shrugged. She said she needed to speak to you, sir. I turned back toward the window. And that's when the girl's voice broke the silence. The brakes have been tampered with. Her voice was steady, almost calm, but it sliced through the marble air like a blade. I stared at her, unsure whether to laugh, to question, or to listen. Outside, thunder folded the world into black. Inside, something in me began to fracture quietly, invisibly. Her words didn't leave me. They settled somewhere behind my ribs, deep enough to ache, shallow enough to doubt. That night, I didn't drive. The car remained in the rain. My driver swore he'd checked everything, but I didn't believe him. Not after seeing his eyes flicker when I mentioned the girl. She had vanished, they said. Walked straight out the back gates. No one saw her leave. No one ever does. I told myself it was nonsense, the imagination of a child. But the next morning, the car exploded on the highway. The man I'd hired for a decade was found burned beyond recognition. The news called it a mechanical failure. I called it a warning. I couldn't sleep after that. The house felt different, colder, heavier. Every sound echoed too long. Every mirror looked like it was watching me back. And then the phone rang. A voice, low, distorted. She tried to save you. The line went dead. I looked out the window again. In the reflection, just behind my shoulder, stood that same little girl. No sound, no movement, only eyes that seemed to know everything I had tried to bury. For the next 7 nights, she appeared. Always in silence. Always when I was alone. Sometimes on the edge of the garden. Sometimes in the reflection of my study door. Once, standing beside my bed, her face turned toward the window, as if she were listening to something outside. I started digging. My driver's bank account, empty. My company's records altered. And then I found it, a contract, signed by someone I trusted more than anyone, Clara. My wife. She had sold me out in quiet transactions, hidden behind charities and investments. The brakes weren't the only thing tampered with, it was mercy. The company was never in her name, but the shadows it paid belonged entirely to her. Every time I stared at her across the dinner table, I remembered the girl's voice. The brakes have been tampered with. I began watching Clara. Her late calls. Her faint smile when she thought I wasn't looking. The perfume on her wrist that wasn't hers. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I just listened like the girl did. One night, I followed her. Out of the mansion, into the mist-covered roads that led toward the city. She met someone. A man in a black car, my car's twin. He hugged her. She didn't resist. My chest didn't break. It went silent. When I turned to leave, I saw the girl again standing by the roadside, barefoot, her dress fluttering in the wind. She pointed to the car and whispered, though I never saw her lips move. He was supposed to drive. The next morning, I confronted Clara. Calmly. I told her about the explosion, about the girl, about the whispers. She laughed. Soft, rehearsed, cruel. Darling, she said, you're grieving. You need rest. But grief doesn't smell like motor oil. And her hands, trembling slightly, betrayed something colder than guilt. I had her phone traced. There were calls, dozens, to a private number registered under my driver's name. Before the explosion, before the warning, when I finally unlocked her cloud storage, I saw the video. A grainy clip of my car, parked in the rain. Someone kneeling beside the wheels, adjusting, cutting. Then a voice, hers. Clarice, make sure it looks like an accident. Silence. Then another voice. What if he survives? Her reply, he won't. The clip ended. But the world didn't. It only changed shape. When I looked up from the phone, the girl was sitting on the edge of my desk, her small hands folded neatly in her lap. Her voice this time was softer. He wasn't supposed to die. I didn't confront Clara with rage. Rage is noise, and noise gives power. I preferred silence. I told her I was leaving for a business trip 3 days abroad. She smiled like a woman already free. But she didn't know that I had changed the terms of every account, every asset, every will. Everything she had built on my name, on my death, was already falling apart. I left her nothing but the mansion. And in that mansion, I left one thing waiting, the same black car she had planned to destroy me with. Fixed. Restored. Waiting. That night, the rain returned. Clara decided to drive. Alone. The brakes failed halfway down the hill. No explosion. Just the soft, final sound of glass meeting stone. They found her in the morning peaceful, almost elegant. When they told me, I didn't flinch. I only asked, quietly, what about the girl? The officer frowned. What girl, sir? It's been months now. The house is empty. The world outside feels slower. Sometimes, I think I hear her, the little girl. Her footsteps, soft against the marble floors. Her humming in the garden where Clara once stood. Maybe she was never real. Maybe she was guilt wearing a child's face. Or maybe she was something else, the part of innocence I sold for power. Last night, I dreamt of her again. She stood by my bed, whispering, "You were supposed to die that night." I looked at her and asked, "Then why didn't I?" She smiled, "Because even death doesn't want your kind." When I woke, the rain had stopped. But the silence hadn't. And somewhere in that silence, I realized. She wasn't warning me. She was watching me. Always had been.